残酷な天使のように少年よ神話になれ
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Adcast, the podcast for the study of modern visual culture. We are the Crystal Gems.
We'll always save the day.
And if you think we can't,
We'll always find a way.
that's why the people
Of this world,
believe in.
garnets
amethyst and pearl.
and steamers.
Wow, you actually sung it. I didn't expect you to.
Well, it's punctuated like that, right? Like, you know, you kind of
I mean,
have
that's-
to. The song is implied.
That's true. I almost feel like I should have sung too now.
Oh, well, I sang
Well-
a little out of tune, so maybe we can spare our listeners.
Okay, that's fine then.
Yeah, this week AT stands for Alien Tyranny because we'll be talking about Steven Universe, as if you didn't already know from the intro.
It's true. It's true. That was the most obvious it could possibly have gotten. So, it has
So.
been a long time since we've recorded.
Only a little bit, along a bit.
A little bit of a long bit. Well, technically, because we recorded the bonus cast, it has been not a long time since we've recorded, but it's been a long time since we've recorded Adcast proper. So,
Yeah, it's basically been a long time since our viewers have probably heard from us, excluding the bonus cast.
that's true. We are pretty much just have been MIA forever. I mean, we left like a note on the fridge, just like, hey, you're not gonna be here. Be back at some point.
But for the people who don't use or ever are on Twitter, it's like we abandoned them, like the mom in Hanebado.
I know. I'm sorry that we became Hanebado mother. Hang on. Have you been watching that? Does that ever get resolved?
I haven't watched the past like episode or two, at least like this past week's episode, but I kind of mostly have stayed caught up.
Oh,
And-
okay.
Yeah.
So she doesn't come back?
Oh, the mom? You
Yeah.
will see.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, the reason it's been so long is because I have been in Europe for 2 weeks, and then I came
Yeah.
back, and then I spent like a week and a half pretty much doing nothing, and then I moved in to where I'm staying for school, and I've just sort of been playing Valkyria Chronicles 4 since then. So, you know, rather than doing anything productive like catching up on all the anime that I missed or editing the bonus episode, I just couldn't stop playing Valkyria Chronicles 4.
It's okay. We all sin at some point.
It's true. It's true. Well, what have you been up to? Because I think what I've been up to is probably gonna take a little bit longer.
Yeah, we'll summarize your entire Euro trip in a hot sec. But yeah, I have been basically convention hopping, a lot of small weekend trips. I went to San Antonio for San Japan, which was amazing. It was so much fun, and San Antonio is beautiful. The convention was like right next to the Riverwalk because it was in the convention center. So we got to like walk up and down the Riverwalk in the evening. It was all sparkly and pretty. And
Nice.
I also went to Retropalooza this past weekend, which is like it's a smaller retro gaming convention up in Dallas, and it's mainly like a really big scene for like YouTubers who enjoy gaming and stuff. So there were quite a few YouTubers there, and a lot of different types of merch and artists and stuff. So that was a cool experience. I also went to St. Louis for, visiting frenzies and stuff like that, and that was a lot of fun. That was my first time going there, so I got to do all the St. Louis things that I didn't know existed, and we went up the arch, and I ate toasted ravioli for the first time, and that was yummy. And my friends took me to Fitz's, which is like a bottling company, but they also have a restaurant, and so we got to have soda there while eating yummy food. And yeah, and there was a whole lot of D&D. An actual full day marathon of D&D, and that was freaking fantastic.
Wait, you spent all day playing D&D?
Yes, the whole literal day. Like, we planned this out beforehand.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And my friend made D&D themed pies. Like, one of them had a D20 pie crust, and then the other one had like the D&D logo on it. It was super freaking dope.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time probably in high school where I could just play all day long, but at this point I get a little tired.
I mean, yeah. We were all a little tired by the end.
I also don't like getting up early, so I mean, even if we did play all day, that would mean is we would play from like 1 p.m. to 12 a.m., right? Like,
that's basically what happened, though.
Okay, all right. Well, that's yeah. I mean, I can still manage that.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun, and that's what I've been up to.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I actually started my own D&D campaign again because my normal group, we will rotate, and because I wrapped up the campaign a little while ago, we've been playing my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have, I mean, most of my friends also just go to the same school that I do again. Because, I mean, I don't know why it worked out this way, but it did. Mm-hmm. And because we're all in town, we just started an extra D&D group, sort of like our bonus cast. So I've been heading that one. It is based off of the Meiji era of Japan. It takes a lot of notes from Rurouni Kenshin, from Gintama, and I basically put it together because I had just binged Rurouni Kenshin, so I was like, well, I might as well.
Man, I want that. I want some feudal Japanese goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, but so far all they've done is fight goblins, so...
Feudal Japanese goblins, yes.
Well, I mean, they're foreign, so, you know, it's okay if you just destroy them.
Foreign goblins! You're adding to the xenophobia, man.
Yeah. Well, they're foreign interdimensional maybe, ? Goblins.
Still xenophobia.
Right? I mean, this is what Gintama's about. Aliens come in and they're just like, this is my house now.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So that will be, I think that'll be fun.
Yeah.
But, my friends are doing maybe the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen them do with D&D characters, and that's really saying something.
Yeah.
They're all playing wizards. And the thing you have to know about wizards is that with enough time and money, they can copy spells from other wizards.
Oh no.
And so they're just aiming to basically get every spell in the game. So, you know, that's what I have to deal with.
I feel like battles would take so long.
No. Well, okay. Yes and no. Because if they're not prepared, sometimes they will take like 10 minutes to choose a spell because God, there's some indecisive jerks about it. But, you know, other times it's just, oh, they're all grouped up. I cast Fireball and all the goblins die. So that's right. It depends on how prepared they are. If they know what spell they want to cast right off the bat, then the turn's just
right.
But otherwise, you know, they spend like 15 minutes saying, well, I mean, I probably should cast this one, but if I cast this one, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, so that's interesting. And I have obviously been in Europe I was in Europe for 2 weeks.
Yes.
I flew into Stockholm.
Okay.
In Sweden, and I trained down to Lund, where my friend is staying for, what's it? It's like study abroad.
Is that also in Sweden?
Yeah, in Sweden. It's like right next to Denmark, though.
I know very little European geography.
Oh, so. Yeah. I knew nothing about European geography until I flew over there and had to figure out where I wanted to go.
Oh.
So I got there and I stayed there for a couple nights, and then I trained down to Denmark and I hung out with some of my friends who live in Denmark.
Wow.
And then I stayed a night there. And
you
then
have a lot of European friends.
I do have a lot of European friends. Because I also, after that, flew to Vienna, which is in Austria.
Okay.
And I stayed for like 4 or 5 nights with one of my friends that lives in Austria.
Ah.
And then I was like, oh, well, I should figure out where I want to go now. Probably like, I think Italy, maybe. So I decided to go to Italy. And I flew down there and I stayed one night in a hostel and one night with somebody I had just met on the internet.
Whoa.
So I'm glad they didn't stab me. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
They were friends with my friend who lives in Austria, so I wasn't too concerned about it.
Okay. That's better.
No, yeah. And then I stayed a night there, and then so this is what you have to understand is that I had to fly in to Milan, and then I stayed a night in Milan. And then I trained from Milan about 3 or 4 hours to the place that I was staying at with my friend.
Okay.
And then I had to go from there to Bologna, which is another city in Italy.
Okay.
Which took like an hour or two of training. And then we hung out there. And then to catch my nighttime flight, I had to train from there to Venice. I didn't actually get to see Venice because I just wanted to get to the airport.
Oh.
But I got there eventually, safe and sound.
Okay.
And then from there, I flew to Germany. So I stayed in Berlin for 2 nights.
Cool.
I met a lovely Australian couple who had been traveling for like 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And then at I think the person below me was Korean. I couldn't tell because I never got a look at her face, but I could hear the unmistakable ringtone of the chat app that all Koreans use called Kakao Talk. It was just Kakao Talk. I'm like, oh, that's a Korean.
You should have went and said hi.
I was so tired, honestly. I was just done.
Oh, okay, that's fine then.
I then at some point she left, and then a new person came in, and he was also Australian. So I was just in a room with 3 Australians.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after exploring Berlin for a little bit, I flew back to Denmark. And I hung out with my friend in Denmark again.
Okay.
And then I trained from I trained into Sweden, and then from the city that I went to in Sweden, which I'm not going to pronounce because every time I do it, my friend gets really mad because he's Danish, and he's just like, this is a different friend, mind you. This is a friend that goes to school with me. But his family is Danish, and he tried to get me to pronounce this city 8 times, and it just didn't pan out. My mouth is not made for those weird European sounds. So I then took a night train from there all the way back up to Stockholm, and then I flew out, and then I got home and I died.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a whirlwind.
It's true. I had some wild adventures. I almost got lost in Austria because I flew in at night, right? I flew in the evening. And then I trained, but I took the wrong train. And I ended up near the Slovakian border.
Uh-oh.
And the trains had stopped running because it was so late.
Oh,
and
no.
my phone was dying.
Oh, no.
And I had no data.
Oh,
so
no.
I had to call my friend using like roaming data with AT&T, which is terrible because they charge so much and it's awful.
At least you had it.
Yeah, I mean, at least I had signal with which to call my friend, and they called me a cab, and I took the cab from there to the airport, and then I took another cab from the airport to his place, and I ended up spending 100 euros on cabs. Yeah, but at least I got there, and I was alive.
Yes.
And my phone didn't die. I was at about 2% when I got there.
Oh my goodness gracious.
To my friend's flat. So I didn't die, which is nice.
But
it did get quite close.
Oh my god.
There was, I mean, yeah. I mean, I spent the most time in Vienna, so I have probably the most memories of it.
Okay.
And the one that stands out to me particularly is I was sitting in like an old school Vienna cafe. Mm-hmm. And there were people smoking everywhere because you can smoke in restaurants in that country for some reason.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like the only one.
Oh.
But apparently it's like Vienna's like the most livable city on planet Earth, so who knows, maybe they're doing something right.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, we were just getting, smoked in this room.
Okay.
Like, by proxy.
Yes.
And I was having a gin and tonic, and Fly Me to the Moon came on, a rendition of Fly Me to the Moon. And I was like, wow, this is it. This is like the picturesque European vacation.
You're in a room full of smoke with sipping your little gin and tonic. You're probably, because you went there by yourself, you're probably sitting by yourself.
Well, I went there with my friend.
Okay, never mind. You were there with a friend. Good.
Yeah, because his grandpa recommended the place.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is why we went.
And then you got the nice Fly Me to the Moon in the background. That's lovely.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously picturesque aesthetically, but also I was just like dying of tobacco smoke. But that's just how it is. Every time we would move, like, someone else would sit down somewhere else and the smoke would then like be right next to us again.
Oh, great.
Oh well. But yeah, that was an okay time. That was actually an okay time. And the rest of it, I mean, what can I say? I made funny poses. I took lots of pictures. I ate lots of food. That was mostly what I did. As is the case for vacations.
Sounds like you had some nice times and harrowing times.
Yeah, I mean, it was only like one harrowing time, other than like general anxiety about getting on the wrong transportation.
Oh my gosh.
I only got on the wrong one once.
That's really good considering how many transportations you had to use.
Yeah, it was actually quite funny because I didn't really have a plan after, getting to Sweden. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't even really planning on staying with my friends until I started talking to them, being like, "Yeah, I'm in Europe. You want to like hang out?" And
oh my God.
They're just like, "Yeah, you can stay at my place." And I was like, "Cool."
Oh,
so
that's
I did.
Nice.
But it meant that I ended up booking plane tickets like the night before or like 2 nights before, and then train tickets like the night before, and bus tickets the night. It was like I really, really took it as I went, and honestly, it kind of worked out. It was fine. Shockingly, I know.
You made it work.
Yeah. The only plane tickets that were quite difficult were getting from Denmark to Vienna in a kind of reasonable fashion.
Okay.
And getting from Vienna to Italy. So, because I was trying to find a flight, and most of them just didn't exist. Mm-hmm. And then when I went there, it turns out that the flight that I was going to take was canceled. So they rebooked it for me in the afternoon. And so I was stuck in the airport I got there at about like 6:30, right? Mm-hmm. And I was there until 3:30.
Wow.
Which sounds quite harrowing, but to be perfectly honest, I just played Grand Blue Fantasy. Like, God bless Grand Blue Fantasy for just being the thing that got me through all of Europe. Yeah. I mean, of all the airports to be stuck at, like, the Vienna one is probably the nicest airport. Oh. Because there are plugs everywhere.
Yeah.
The airport fare is actually quite good. I had a wonderful sandwich of some kind with some unidentifiable pork product. It was like if you had like gourmet Spam. Because it was like kind of the consistency of Spam, but the outside was like properly smoked and tasty, and there was cheese in it. And oh man, that sandwich was so good. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. I have a picture of it. Yeah. It was also really satisfying because he just carves off this like puck of meat from this big haunch.
Whoa.
So yeah, that was nice.
Man, that's legit.
And also they have like really, really nice places to sit in the Vienna airport. There's like couches essentially. But they're not quite couches, but they're made of like couch cushions, but they're almost like jungle gyms, but made of couch cushions, and you can just lie down on one. And my goodness, that was so comfy.
Wow.
The comfiest I've ever been in an airport. Meanwhile, the Berlin one was just a shit show. I mean, okay, it is an okay airport. It functions, but for some reason, and I don't know why this is, there isn't a single electrical outlet anywhere.
Oh no.
I don't know why. There's just none. I couldn't find any. But you know what? It ended up being fine. I brought my power bank with me. It was 10,000 milliamp hours, so it's basically like I can charge my phone like twice. Unfortunately, when I got to Vienna, I just didn't have that either. Because I was laying over in Berlin, and oh, that's right, I laid over in Berlin, but because my first flight was really late, my second flight I missed it, so I had to rebook that one for the evening, and so I was there all day, and of course that airport doesn't have any fucking outlets, so I had no battery by the time I got in, and then I got lost, and I mean that day was also that was all part of the same day, but it was quite harrowing.
That's not a good day.
Nope. But yeah, that was my Europe trip. It was super fun, super exciting. I would love to go back and visit the countries that I didn't get to visit. I did not get to visit France, Spain, or the UK.
The big ones.
Yeah, I mean, three big ones. I visited Germany and Italy, right?
They're
I mean,
big ones too.
I cut quite the powerful tour out, through Europe.
You did.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you got back safe and you didn't get stuck at the Slovakian border.
yeah. I mean, I did spend 100 euros to get myself out of that fix, but you know what? Sometimes you just have to deal with that, I guess.
Sometimes you just have to be safe.
Yeah. Sometimes I just want to sleep.
Yeah.
Which is how I felt. I was like, I'm ready to die.
Oh.
Anyway, let's talk about Steven Universe.
Steven Universe.
So, we're going to talk about Steven Universe. And you might be thinking, aren't you an anime podcast?
No.
Actually, no. We're not.
No.
We have not only talked about anime. So
listen, modern visual culture.
Modern visual culture. It includes Western cartoons. But the question as to whether Steven Universe is anime or not, I would say why the fuck not?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's an anime.
They reference Ava. That's an anime.
It's true.
They also reference Ghibli.
They reference a lot of anime. Yeah, I mean, it is to the point. It's like the anime influence on Steven Universe alone makes up enough to be an anime.
It's an anime, right?
It's an anime.
They even got the Gurren Lagann on. Listen, they have all the big ones, and they got the little ones. They got a lot of anime in there.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, even the premise and the execution of Steven Universe is very much anime. It's in the tradition of anime, even though it looks like a Western cartoon.
It's secretly an anime in a Western skin.
Yeah, look. I mean, that sounds kind of spooky, but sure. Right? Like I don't know about this sort of weird Hannibal Lecter skinning of Western cartoons, but okay. But yeah, I mean, it's. I will say it's. There's no reason it's not an anime other than the fact that it's not made in Japan, but that's not really the marker of an anime anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would say that Avatar: The Last Airbender is an anime.
That's what I was going to reference. It's like, well, it's about as anime as Avatar.
Yeah, which is fair. I mean, someone once said this, which is that it is like a shonen anime, except with the core of a shoujo anime, which I think is highly accurate. Highly accurate. It feels very Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that to it.
Yeah.
I think there's at least like 4 references somewhere just sort of sewed in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that the definition of anime is opening up, and it shouldn't exclusively be Japanese media, but just, I mean, it's kind of funny to say it like this, but it's just anything that follows in the tradition of anime, right? Mm-hmm. Of what is already considered anime. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're utilizing those aesthetics and those tropes, it's an anime.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's an anime.
It's an anime.
Steven Universe, the anime.
If anyone asks you, tell them it's an anime, and if they tell you that you're wrong, tell them to come to me, and I'll fight them personally.
Oh, jeez.
I will get into a boxing match with them.
Megaloboxu.
I'm not good at boxing, but I will megalobox them into next Tuesday over this. This is the weird hill that I will die on.
Oh, no.
Because of my literature background, it's just, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's at some point you just stop being a prescriptivist.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's just how it works.
Okay. We'll let you have this.
Yes. This is mine. My city now.
It's mine.
My city now. Okay. Well, let's talk about what makes it so good, because it's good. I mean, it is certainly good. It's
a great, lighthearted anime. Yep.
Totally nothing messed up ever happens, and everyone's always happy, and everything is okay.
You a lie.
Yes, that's like the one lie I've told today. No, I mean, there is something to be said about the way that it continues moving a narrative forward even within the cartoon format, because this is a thing that wasn't really the case until we got to cartoons like Avatar, which is an anime, and Teen Titans, which is also an anime. I'm just gonna start pointing at random things and be like, is this anime? That's anime. This is an anime. I'm an anime.
I just imagine like an anime blob slowly like spreading its tendrils across everything. It roams across.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it is important to note though that the effect that Japanese animation has had on Western animation, because before then it was pretty rare for an animation, a cartoon, to have a forward moving plot. Or even any kind of real episode to episode consistency. Because before then, cartoons were mostly just like jokes or bits or skits, right? You know, stuff like Looney Tunes or the early animated shorts, which are just like set to music, etc., etc. And aside from movies, it was difficult to find anything that had any sort of continuity between episodes.
Sure.
You know, it is important to note that the reason that we have that is because of anime to a large extent. I mean, that is honestly what I really like about Steven Universe, is that even though it's a cartoon, and even though the episodes seem to be self-contained 15-minute, bits, they all connect. And I mean, there are parts of the show that are more involved.
Right.
And that have like an actual plot to them that spans a couple episodes. Like they have arcs, which it dawns on me that the structure of Steven Universe is quite similar to that of something like Gintama, which probably explains why I like it so much.
It's like a lot of silly jokes and funny bits that just kind of compound on each other and get referenced later on, and then it gets like struck by these like really serious arcs or moments, and then you're like, oh my gosh, have you been building to this whole time or what?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's even the episodes that are just kind of like throwaway episodes, quote unquote, do have that amount of continuity. It's like nothing ever goes backwards. They always remember what happens.
Right.
Which is nice. Like even the episodes that aren't part of like the main plot or whatever still build on the characters or the world or establish something that gets brought up later, which is what I really like. And that's like something Gintama also does really well.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Like it just makes me think of like, you know, they have like really silly episodes like when Jamie decides to become a drama boy, you know?
Right, exactly.
But then that continues on like later on.
Yeah, later he's still drama boy, but now he's
still drama
doing
boy.
You know, improv comedy, but now everyone's gone. So
yeah.
I like the continuity with which the show moves forward, regardless of if the episode is relevant to the plot at hand or not.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people can get frustrated with the way that it runs because of that. You know, because there are a lot of episodes that aren't necessarily about they're not highly plot relevant, right? Like this is a thing where it's a vastly different kind of narrative than Avatar: The Last Airbender, even though they're at their core about pretty similar things, right? Like, you know, young boy needs to realize his potential to save the world. Mm-hmm. But the way that Avatar works is it's a very tightly written narrative that doesn't spend a ton of downtime anywhere. Mm-hmm. Right? The only real side story, I guess you could call it, is the episode that is the Tales from Ba Sing Se, where everyone's just kind of doing their daily routines. And even that one is like just a really good episode because it shines light on, you know, what all the characters are doing, and it ends with, you know,
right. It's interesting. The pacing in Steven Universe is probably like it's kind of like hit or miss for me at times. Like sometimes it feels so good, right? Especially considering the fact that they are like 15-minute episodes. And then other times, because it's 15 minutes, sometimes when they end the episode, it feels really abrupt. And then the next episode might be like a hard left from that and be like, it'll go from like serious plot to like funny shenanigans. And you're like, wait a minute, but that thing that the last episode was about, what happened to it? And of course they'll eventually revisit it because, you know, they never forget. But yeah, I feel like the pacing is a little more sporadic than something like Avatar, which it felt like it had its gradual like inclines and declines, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think I would tend to agree. I think the pacing of the show is quite jarring if you're not used to something like that. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, if you've never watched Gintama. Yeah. Which can very much do that, right? The serious arc ends and all of a sudden, like, oh, we're just goofing around again. Boop, boop,
yeah.
Boop, boop.
Yeah, but I mean, that aside, like, I feel like the fact that they do have 15-minute episodes to work with, they execute it brilliantly. Yeah. And, I mean, it's a lot of work.
I mean, it is quite impressive because as a children's show, it does have that sort of additional qualifier to it that is, it has to, you know, grapple with the fact that it's aimed at children. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's not a show that is only for children, right? I think that an adult will find it highly entertaining, and people they do, right? Yeah. But I think that the way that they handle the themes is actually pretty good because it goes into some pretty deep stuff. Yeah. Right? Like they never quite, and sometimes I think almost sometimes to a frustrating degree, they will touch on how alienated Steven feels from, you know, both the gems and from other humans, right? Mm-hmm. Like sometimes we'll have an episode where he's just like, but what if? And you're just like, didn't we already go through this, Steven? But I mean, you know, that's what growing up is like. You do sometimes just regress, and you just have to deal with it. I think it handles a lot of that stuff really well, and it has like really good messages about love and friendship and resisting the tyrannical authoritarian government of a planet of rock Nazis and
Rock Nazis.
and don't ruin the environment by husking a planet.
Yeah.
All those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's some of the themes can be like very like spelled out and like this is what it is, this is what we're teaching you kind of things, but I feel like those moments are trumped by the just letting the story do its thing, letting the characters do their thing without having to spell everything out for you, right?
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree.
Yeah, like I like the fact that sometimes they teach things about like how, I don't know, it's okay to feel guilty or it's okay to retreat for a while, like those kinds of themes, without necessarily always saying like this is exactly what it is. Sometimes they do because it's a kids show and there are important lessons to be learned that maybe,
don't husk the planet.
Yeah, that maybe kids won't understand through subtext. But yeah, the fact that they do imply a lot of valuable meaning, I think is important because kids, sometimes they do need things spelled out for them, sometimes they don't, and I feel like this show, as a result, is approachable for a lot of people of a lot of ages.
Yeah, I mean, I think people don't give kids enough credit for how perceptive they are.
Yeah. Right?
They know and understand a lot more than you think. It's just that you need to be there to guide them.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of value in a cartoon like this that is aimed at children that does grapple with more mature themes. I mean, heck, Avatar was that, and it just raised an entire generation of weebs. No, wait, hang on. That's not the lesson. No,
but I mean, the result.
Right. It does. It because Avatar grapples with things like war and what's okay and what's not, and
right.
There's a lot of very gray morality there.
Yeah.
Whereas Steven Universe, I mean, also does that. It's about war and gray morality and terrible things that happen and husking planets.
You're all about that planet husk.
I mean, it's just fun to say planet husk.
That Nausicaa business.
Nausicaa business. Yeah, I mean, it does take a lot of cues thematically also from Ghibli.
Oh, so many.
Yeah. It is important to talk about how the sort of central arc of the show is about a young boy who is learning that it's okay to have feelings and to express them. Yeah. And love will get you through all these troubles. Don't you worry, son. Just rely on the people around you because they will help you. Which is nice.
It's so nice. Like the bonds that he has with a lot of the town, with the other crystal gems, with his dad. It's all like really, really fleshed out and so good to see. And how all these bonds differ, and also like the stark contrast between all of that and his struggle to understand like who the frick was his mom,
Yeah, and then you learn and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, I should probably ask you this before we go any farther. Did you finish? Did you catch up?
Yes,
okay,
I'm all caught up.
Wow, I'm highly impressed. There is quite a lot of it, even if they are shorter episodes.
I would have gotten all the way through it if there was autoplay.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It's just I wish there was an easy place to do that.
No. It's fine,
I would have watched it again if that were the case. But unfortunately, I was not able to. Yeah, I mean it is quite nice that we get a show where the main character is a boy, but all the people that he looks up to, all his role models, basically all his parents are like women, or at least female presenting figures, which is an important distinction that we'll touch on later.
Yeah,
but it is. I mean, it's nice, which is like kind of the only way that I can put it, that we even get a show like this,
right?
Because it's just so different approach wise than a lot of other, I mean, even anime, right? Because most anime is pretty set in its ways about what it's gonna would be about. Like if it's a shonen anime, oh, with the power of hot-blooded friendship, you'll make your way through this by punching everybody in the face to death.
It's refreshing in that way. That's so different.
Right. Whereas, Steven Universe is I will punch you in the face, but only to protect my friends.
With love.
Right, and to the point, like, Steven doesn't even punch anybody. He only has a shield. His only weapon, quote unquote, is a shield, right?
It's a shield and a spiky bubble and a regular bubble and smooches. Healing smooches.
Healing smooches.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see, because with a lot of anime, and not even just anime, just a lot of cartoons that feature male protagonists or even female protagonists, it's like the role models are almost always men, right? Where it'll be like some teacher who's a dude or some rival who's a dude. Every now and then they'll have like a female role model, but a lot of the time she ends up being sexualized or something like that. Or something.
Or, here's my favorite one, where she's like, I'm doing this for my dad.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like for female protagonists, they'll have a male motivation, right? Or it's like, oh, I want to be like this commander guy, or I want to be like this. It's terrible, and and it's like every female has to be like either a love interest or a mom, or some kind of like motivation, like tragic motivation for the male character to move forward, right? And beat up the bad guy. And so it's really nice to see this kind of story where he has all of these like diverse role models, and then not only that, but a lot of them are female, and they're not there to just further his backstory or motivation or whatever to accomplish whatever goal it is to defeat the villain. They're there to be his family and to also get their own agendas done, right?
Yeah. I mean, to the point, I was thinking about how I watched John Wick 2 recently. And I've never seen John Wick 1. I still haven't seen it. But his wife is dead, but that's not why he's going for revenge. It's because his wife gave him a puppy.
Yes.
And then gangsters killed his puppy.
Yes. Wait, wasn't that the first one?
Yes, that's the first one.
Okay. Yeah, I
I
remember watching
still haven't
it.
seen it, but I know that he basically just kills everyone over a puppy.
Yes,
which
that's the whole first movie.
To be fair, that is somewhat refreshing.
No, yeah, it definitely was. I was like, oh my god, he's killing all these gangsters over the puppy that his waifu gave him.
Right, it's like this is a different kind of man pain. This is you killed my dog, which is a universal pain that everyone realizes.
Yeah, he didn't even like the puppy at first, and then he started loving it and taking care of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, it is nice, very important that we get a show focused around that, essentially coming into and learning love and softness and caring, right? Mm-hmm. And I really like that those are the core themes of the show, even though it is a show about an imperial colonial space force that husks planets,
right? Like
kills everyone on them.
Exactly. It's amazing how far the show exemplifies compassion through Steven, right? Like there's not a single person, not a single enemy who he hasn't tried to befriend or tried to understand or has in essence given up on. Like there are times when he's pushed into like a really precarious situation, like when he was stuck in the bubble floating through space with Ruby, right? The one with the eye in the socket.
Yeah.
and he felt horrible at the aftermath of what happened. And it haunted him, right? And the stuff with Bismuth too. And then in the end, he was still able to come around and basically forgive them for trying to kill him and trying to invite them to be friends with him again. Like,
There's an awful lot of awful things we could be thinking of, but for just one day, let's only think about love.
it shows that, you know, not everyone is just like a black and white villain that just needs to be destroyed forever and then your life will be better, right?
Yeah, I also I like that most of the gems just come around. It's just like, you can join the crystal gems too.
Yeah. And they're like,
They're like, but I'm evil. No, you're not.
And
Okay.
It seems like this is the only problem that you got going on and we'll figure it out together. And they're like, okay, we'll try.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we talked about how sporadic the plot is, but overall, it's actually quite good.
It is
goes
good.
Some wild places. You would not be able to tell from the first episode because the first episode is like super a cartoon, and then, you know, episode 50 is like you're dealing with the horrifying abomination that is created by the corpses of 100 dead soldiers roaming the hospital, and you're just like, well, we've certainly come far.
Yeah, the way they start in the beginning is so like, it's
So
so
innocuous.
unassuming. Yeah, exactly. Like, because you start out with Steven, who's like hasn't gained mastery of his powers, and all he wants to do is go out with the crystal gems on their missions and to fight and stuff. And you don't exactly know what the crystal gems are out there doing, but you just know that Steven is one of them and wants to prove himself, right? And then it just develops from that to Steven is basically being acknowledged as their leader, and then they're going on wild space adventures and fighting against the rock Nazis.
Yep. Yep.
It's amazing.
It's true. I mean, it is quite well written.
Yes.
It is quite well written.
It's
I mean,
amazing.
the pacing will
It's
trip
good.
you up sometimes, but
Yeah.
let's talk about characters.
The characters.
So good. So
Yes.
gay.
Yes.
Who's your favorite?
Who isn't my favorite?
Who is your favorite?
You know, I have to say that in the beginning, I did not expect to like her because she was a bad guy, but I freaking love Peridot.
Okay, I kind of had a feeling that you would.
Yeah, you could see it from a while away, right? Because they of course portray her as such, right? That she's just like almost robotic. You know, I'm here to husk your planet,
Right.
Give me the goods kind of character, and then surely the Steven magic works itself.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. And now she's just a big old nerd who likes aliens and teen dramas, and so
I mean,
good.
I love that the arc of it is that she just becomes this like weird gremlin shitlord.
Yes. I love her so much.
I think this is very fair. I think she has one of the one of the really good arcs too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly would say that like any character that goes through any amount of character development has a really good arc.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
Peridot is one of them.
Yeah, I like her a lot. I mean, I love a lot of the characters. Like, they all have really good arcs.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I got really frustrated with like the whole Sadie Lars thing for a long time, and now it's better, so I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the
I mean,
beginning
that's-
was so toxic. I was like, ooh,
That's fair.
this hurts me. And then now it's like, okay, they're growing up and they're starting to learn what actual, affection is and how you should actually treat another human being.
I mean, I do love how the relationships between other characters grow and change through the show, even
Yeah.
if they're not
Yeah.
strictly about Steven.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd actually say that like I really like Lars's arc too. I think he
His
has
arc,
probably
though.
one of the best ones.
Oh my gosh. I was like,
Yeah.
this guy, like every time.
Every time. And then you're like, oh, you're doing your best, buddy.
Yeah.
Doing your best.
He really came around in the last season. Like really hardcore.
Yeah,
came
really,
around.
really hard.
It felt like they were building up his thing for like a long time until they were like, now.
Right. They're just like, it's time.
Yeah. It felt great.
This is for you, people who like Lars.
Yeah.
It's nice because like, boy, even though we get Steven, right, and he's like the central character and it's all about him growing up and stuff like that, we still get to see characters like Lars shed all of these, you know, awkward anxieties and toxic ideas and become nice people. Become fully fledged people.
Yeah, they approach that with like a lot of different types of people, which I like. Like you learn things about like Onion, for example, right? Who's like this weird, dangerous kid, and then you find out, oh, he really does appreciate his friends.
Yeah. Onion.
Onion. And then you find out the cool kids are actually they're dope. Like
they're really nice and cool. Yeah.
They're nice. They're open-minded and cool.
Like I actually really love that because I mean a lot of the work in Steven Universe goes to deconstruct these kind of ideas that are present in Western pop culture, right?
Yeah.
Like the cool kids aren't just some uncaring cool kids, right? They're actually nice, caring, open-minded people.
Yeah.
And then
they do have that one rich kid.
Oh, Kevin?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
Yeah.
But I mean, even he's like not the worst by the time.
Yeah, exactly. He gets a mini episode or whatever to show that he has good qualities too.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, it is just like you learn. I mean, he's just like a shitty teenager.
Yeah. And
he's still trying to learn how to deal with that. Which, goodbye, Kevin, forever. Yeah, I mean, I would say even. I mean, it's funny that even Mayor Dewey finds something that he likes.
Even Mayor Dewey, oh my god, I loved it.
His entire sort of point was just, I am the mayor, I do mayor things, and then he's useless. But then he's just like, well, okay. I guess I'm not mayor anymore.
Yeah, and then Steven like helps him like figure out, okay, so what exactly was it that you liked about being mayor? And he's just like, I just liked seeing like all the townsfolk happy and, you know, going to work in the morning and stuff like that, and they'd be happy to see me, like that kind of thing. And then Steven boiled it down. He's just like, well, you could do all that at the donut shop.
You could be the donut man.
Yeah, and then he took it on and made it his own. I loved it.
Yeah, it's a very wholesome show.
Yeah.
But let's talk about my favorite character.
Yeah, what's your favorite? Who's your favorite? Sorry.
I think this is something that people who know me can see a mile away. But my favorite character is Lapis Lazuli.
Lapis Lazuli, you fled into the bottom of the sea.
Oh, freaking of course. She was going to be my second mention. Yes.
Oh, I can't not, you know?
Dude, me too, though.
Just like, I think everything about her character is handled so well.
It's handled like really freaking well. Like, I feel like the only reason why she isn't my top fave is because like there were parts when I was like, I was supposed to be annoyed with her and I was, right? Mm-hmm. Like that whole part of her story like played so well for me that I was just like, man, I really am frustrated with you right now, but I know I'm supposed to be because this is all part of the story and it's valuable to your character development, stuff like that. And then like when it did finally come around, I was like, yes, God, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I love that, you know, she's a character that is around.
Yeah.
Right after she's initially introduced, and she's initially introduced as an antagonist. You know, she's gonna steal all the water, kill all those people.
Yeah.
By stealing all the water.
Yeah.
But even she comes around. I mean, of course, not before like the whole. I'm gonna forcefully fuse, and then we're just gonna be locked in this toxic death tango for a while.
Dude, like the way that they addressed all of that and the aftermath of it was amazing. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's
like her trauma. Oh my God.
I think like Lapis Lazuli is probably the most traumatized character in the show.
Yeah.
And they treat it with such sensitivity.
Yep.
And care that it really goes a long way to not making it feel cheap, right? Like there are parts where you feel really frustrated with her, but you can understand why
you always
she's doing,
understand.
Right?
Yep.
It's like she never forgets her trauma even after she becomes technically like part of the group, right?
Yeah.
And I really liked that, she and Peridot come to care for each other on this weird farm.
On their farm.
Or they're just
they got the meat morphs and their pumpkin dog.
Right.
Yeah, I love that they don't magic wand it away, right? Like, just because Steven is amazing and he gets her to come around with his speeches and his love and all, and compassion and kindness and whatnot, it doesn't change the fact that she was traumatized and she carries that with her. And I love the gradual growth and change that you see in her. Even though she doesn't have like a whole lot of screen time, you see her change bit by bit each time she's in a scene. And like the way that they handled the whole like Jasper trying to get her to come back. Oh my God. I was like, oh God.
I mean, it is so important that Lapis Lazuli is a character that is like traumatized and then essentially enters like a metaphorically toxic relationship, because fusing as like a metaphor for relationship is really great. Yes, and I love it. Yes, and I love that the relationships will make you stronger or weaker or will control you or whatever, right? All that sort of stuff. And after she leaves and Jasper's like, come back.
Yeah, it was so good with us. We were better as a team. It was so good.
And Lapis is like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh my God, they're getting too real right now.
Yeah, it's super real, right? It's just like,
jeez. Like I got the cold chills during that whole episode, man. I was like,
yeah, I think it's just on average, every time something was happening with Lapis Lazuli, it was probably like the closest that I got to like tearing up.
Yeah.
Because I think she has some of the most impactful scenes.
Yep.
Like emotionally.
I especially love, in this past the latest season, in which she is about to leave again, right? And Steven's on the moon base with her or whatever, and she addresses the fact like, yeah, I know you should be used to this, right? You should be used to me leaving despite everything, because I'm scared and I cannot ever let this trauma take me again.
Then I see the colors fading, gentleness of light escaping, shadows of my fear invading. Have I seen this all before?
It harkens to the fact that, the writers are extremely aware of how they write her and how her arc has been so far pacing wise. Like, something bad happens, she gets involved, terrible things happen to her, and then she has to bounce. And it keeps repeating over and over for her again, and she wants to break the cycle so badly, to the point where she's so self-aware of what's happening. And then in the end, she manages to break it herself, and it comes around so rewardingly.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice because it ultimately comes down to it's her choice to come back.
Yep.
Right? It's not Steven's like, come back, and she's like,
exactly.
Okay. It's she's left already and has decided that, she wants to be, with people.
Yes. I think it would have, like, we would have not been too surprised if she came back because of Steven's, urging her to come back, saying that we can be anything, friendship and stuff. But the fact that she did end up leaving anyway and then came back of her own volition without, anyone else telling her to, I think is way more powerful.
Yeah, I would agree. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, God, that scene where she comes back, I was like,
I know. I was like, came back. The deepest gasp. Came back.
oh, it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding.
It's so rewarding.
Yeah, I think if there's any word that I can use to describe Steven Universe, it's very rewarding to watch.
The investment that you put into it will pay off.
Yeah, right. It comes back around.
Yeah.
I love him.
I love all the babies, all the colorful babies.
Do you have a favorite fusion?
A favorite fusion? I don't know, Garnet.
I mean, I was gonna say I like Alexandra because she's just a big monster lady.
Yeah.
But I also just really like Garnet.
I just love Garnet.
She's just so good.
She's so good, and she exemplifies all the fusion-ness, and she takes fusion so seriously, and now she's married.
Yeah, and now she's married. That's actually what I really liked that about Garnet is that in the latest season, I think it's the latest season. I don't actually know the distinction between the seasons because I binged like 4 seasons once.
Yeah.
And then I binged the last one.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was 3 and 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some combination of it. I only watch it in sittings.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked that there was an episode. It's not even just an episode, but like a couple episodes, like 2 episodes, where it is Ruby and Sapphire disagreeing and getting into an argument and not being fused. And I love that it is this portrayal of, a relationship is a thing that you build together. So if you're not, in agreement anymore, it doesn't necessarily work. And you can have been together for a really long time and still disagree on some things to the point where, you will unfuse. But even then, if you work through it, if you still feel like that, right? If you still agree, you can fuse again.
Right. Their relationship is so good to watch because it is like a really great example of a healthy relationship in this show. Is that they fight and they disagree and they'll yell at each other, they'll run away or whatever, but they never stop caring about each other, right? They don't.
Right.
They, like, when the fighting is all said and done, they panic because they're like, oh my gosh, I've been away from you for so long. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to yell. I shouldn't have said this or that or the other, right? And I love that we get examples of both healthy and unhealthy relationships in this show, Yeah.
I mean, it's like the stark difference between Malachite as like, both of these people are chaining each other down and they're not good for each other and they're not like talking. Right?
Yeah.
And Garnet, who says I'm a conversation, right? Like the fact that Garnet is the result of the, love between Ruby and Sapphire, and also the fact that she says I'm a conversation, right? It says something very important, which is that, a relationship is a dialogue. It is a continuing dialogue, and you can't stop talking if you want it to be like, if you want it to continue, right? Like you have to talk about stuff, right?
Yeah.
And even if you disagree and you split, you can still renegotiate, and even if it's not like the same relationship, or it could be the same, right? It's like yeah. I feel like there's so many different types of relationships and characters that you
are bound to identify with at least one of them.
Yeah,
And I think that's what makes this show have such a strong cast.
I also really like that the show isn't just about, romantic love, right? It's Steven feels so much love for everyone around him.
Yeah.
And it's about like the familial love between him and his dad.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously about the different kinds. I mean, even the different kinds of like romantic love, right? Like the kind between Pearl and Rose.
Yeah.
And between Ruby and Sapphire is the nature of those relationships is different.
Yeah.
Just as the relationship of Rose Quartz and Greg's relationship was different.
Yeah.
And also different from Steven and Connie's, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a real emotional, like a real honest emotional intimacy in the relationships between these characters that feels very good to watch.
Very good.
Very good to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Greg.
Greg is so good.
I love that he is the kind of like stereotypically dopey and incompetent father, but at the end of the day, right, like he still loves his son greatly and does everything for him.
Yeah.
Right. Everything that he does is for his sake, and he's always there. And I mean, also like I love that he has like this great sense of boundaries, right? Like,
oh yeah,
when Steven doesn't really want to talk to him, he doesn't really try to push that. He's just like, okay, but like, if you want to talk, I'll be here.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, it's like he's such a good dad. He's such a good dad.
He's a really good dad. Like, I love that by his character design. He looks like some beach hippie that you would write off, right? He owns a car wash, whatevs. But like, this is a pure man, like heart of gold, like would do anything for his son, is such a good person. Like, he's a great character.
Yeah. I also love that he just like becomes a millionaire. He's like, well,
I know, he's secretly a millionaire.
I guess I'll just rebuild my car wash.
Yeah.
It's better now. I have a sign. Everything.
I love it.
Yeah. I love that it's, I mean, that's the difference between Steven Universe and another cartoon, right? Like in another cartoon, all the money would have been taken away from him by the end to keep the continuity of nothing. Cause like a lot of cartoons are zero-sum games.
Exactly.
But in Steven Universe, he just has that money now.
It's just
like
part of the story.
Right. He's still the same. He still looks like, I mean, his character design is made to look like a deadbeat, right? But
yeah.
He's just nice.
He's
and
such
pleasant.
a good guy. Yeah, he lives out of his car and it's NBD. He's still able to take care of his son just fine.
Right, like he's a millionaire, but he still lives in his car because, like, in his van. He loves his van. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Positive feels all around. Very wholesome show. Let's talk about the music.
Yeah, the music is everywhere.
We cannot not talk about the music.
Yes.
It's honestly that good.
Yeah.
It's like Broadway or like a Disney movie where they're singing, except it's just good. Like not to say Broadway and Disney aren't good. Like, they are good. They're very good, actually. They make quite a lot of money because they're so good. But I feel like it's rare that we actually get a cartoon that's also like a musical.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like every day, but all of the music in general is just very good, even the background tracks.
Yes, I agree. It's lovely because because all the music permeates throughout this whole series. There's a certain candidness to it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's some of it is just like Steven like singing and plucking an instrument, or
Life and death and love and birth and peace and war on the planet Earth.
Or it's Greg singing about his past, or
I could never be ready for this.
or it's that one, episode where they treated the whole thing like actual Broadway, right? when
Right.
when
That's-
Greg gets the money, you know.
Yeah, that's one of the best episodes with one of the best songs.
I know. Oh my god,
It's
it
over,
was
isn't
so
it?
good.
It's so good.
Yes, it's so good.
It's over, isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it over? You won, and she chose you, and she loved you, and she's gone. It's over, isn't it? Why can't I move on?
Not all of the songs are like, you know, was it like like ridiculously well produced Disney or whatever. But
Right, yeah.
they are all so ridiculously charming and so telling of the characters that sing them that that I think the candidness itself is very like it's characteristic. It's a hallmark of the show.
I think to a great extent, you know, the music, isn't actually that overly produced. It's honestly, there's something like charmingly amateurish about it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
There's something that's kind of like it's there's a striking honesty to it, right? It's very heartfelt, you know.
Yep.
Because like a lot of the music is written by Rebecca Sugar herself, so
No.
yeah, so it's like, you know, if obviously it's gonna have a really good connection to the show, like a good tie-in, right? I mean, the music really is kind of like the heart of the show in a way, right? It because not only does it come in and it's like really good, right? And it's like very fitting for the scene, but it's also like, I mean, it feels very much like the show comes from the music, right? Like aesthetically, it seems to have been built from the aesthetics of the music because they're just so well intertwined. Like even all of the like calming background tracks, like the little twinkles, right?
Yeah.
Like all of it is very, very good at setting the aesthetic of Steven Universe as a show that's very, I mean, for lack of a better word, it's very soft.
Yeah, it feels like both the visuals, the story, and then additionally the music, they're all co-created together versus post-production kind of thing, right? Where the music might come in at the end, or the music might be at the beginning for like pacing reasons, and then they'll do the visuals, you know, whatever. But in this series, it feels, because they all fit together so well, it all feels like they were organically created together.
If this makes any sense, it's like the rhythm of the music sets the pace for the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, all the voice acting is really good. It's actually
good.
great. It's
The voice
actually
acting
amazing.
is, freaking fantastic. And all the babies singing their hearts out is so good. Ugh.
Also, can I just say I really appreciated the Zircons,
Yeah,
because it's just one big Phoenix Wright reference, man.
it is.
Like the blue underprepared spiky lawyer that can't come up with anything, but accidentally stumbles onto like the greatest conspiracy of all time. That's
Is
Phoenix
the
Wright.
defense lawyer.
It's like, oh, I mean, it is a reference that is like not necessarily super in your face,
Yeah.
but it's effective. It's part of the narrative and the world itself and the aesthetics. Like it is integrated into the show instead of just being kind of like a throwaway joke. You're just like, oh, I get it. It's an Ace Attorney thing, right?
Yeah.
But because it's like, oh no, these are actually just like, you know, court lawyers in the royal court. So
Yeah.
yep. And the blue one is also like the helpless defense lawyer that doesn't know anything. That is also taking on a task that is like way too great for them. I'm like, that's Phoenix Wright. I love him.
Yes, they didn't have to yell objection all over the place to reference Phoenix Wright.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that feels like really good. You're like, yeah, Phoenix Wright. I get it. I get it. Yeah. I mean, it also shows you how to use references effectively, right? It's like, you know, you want to integrate it in a way that it feels, you know, meaningful, because that, I mean, aside from like the initial like, oh my god, that's Phoenix Wright, you have the, oh wait, this is a very serious situation.
Yep.
And the way that it marries those two is very good. And
It
you know,
is good.
there's obviously like lots of anime references sprinkled in there.
Many.
Many. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the animation.
Animation.
pretty good. I
like
it. It's a little weird sometimes.
Sometimes it can be a little off point, but
The characters are somewhat at this point infamously known to be off model, depending on the episode. Like honestly, Peridot is like 2 feet tall at this point, and even without her like limb extenders, she's not usually supposed to be that small. But I think they've just given up. They're just like, we're just gonna keep making her smaller until
smaller and smaller.
until she's just an ant.
It's gonna be part of the story.
Yeah, it's gonna be part of the story. Definitely, 100%. I don't know about that one. The characters look vastly different from episode to episode.
Yeah, they do. It's okay.
Pearl is one of the characters that has like some of the most variance. Like some of the early photos of Pearl look quite funny. It's like a
yeah.
Let's talk about the gays. Which I wrote here, and I do mean that. Let's talk about the gays.
Yeah.
It's very gay.
Uh-huh.
And it's very important that it's very gay and for children.
Yeah.
And will inspire many children to... I'm just kidding.
Uh-huh.
Well, okay, it is. I will say it is important that children get the image that this is okay, considering how, you know, our culture is so heteronormative.
Yes.
You know, it's important that we have depictions of non-heteronormative relationships.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, that's for a show that is basically about relationships and how great they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's very important too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the wedding between Ruby and Sapphire was great.
I'd rather think about a wedding.
And I almost cried because it was so beautiful.
Oh.
But I also think that the way that it was done was ingenious.
Yeah.
Because, so if you don't know, Ruby and Sapphire are the two characters that form Garnet.
Yeah.
Oops, spoilers.
We spoiled so much already.
That's true. And, sorry, I was just thinking about how we should probably put a spoiler warning at the start.
Oh.
I'll do that
later. We
later.
spoil every show that we talk about, Soup.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's at this point it's just like an implicit thing, right? We're gonna spoil it.
I mean, have you listened to our Devilman Crybaby?
Yeah, but Devilman Crybaby is only 10 episodes,
and we spoiled all of them.
I mean, yes. Okay. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
I love the fact that Ruby, who is the more masculine one, is the one in the dress.
Yes, and Sapphire wore the tux.
Because it proves without a speck of doubt that, you know, they're gay. They're gay. They gay.
Yeah.
I learned this from somebody, my friend in Vienna, who told me that apparently in certain dubs of Steven Universe, they've changed one of the voice actors to be male, I guess, for, I'm gonna guess Ruby, because that's like probably the character they can get away with.
Right.
So this episode will be fun for them.
What are they gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean it. I love that and the fact. I mean, okay. Thank you, Rebecca Sugar. God bless you. Because not only is she the first woman to create a show on Cartoon Network, she came out as a non-binary woman, so she's the first non-binary person to create a show on Cartoon Network. Take
wow. That. Not only is she the first female, but she's also the first non-binary?
Yes, non-binary person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
It is also important to note that, because it suddenly makes sense why all the gems are, you know, non-binary, gender non-conforming, but female presenting, because it is suddenly less like a. I mean, okay, so it is important, right? Like, and we've talked about this, how it's important to get content from diverse creators, right? This is pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Where it suddenly makes sense why all the gems are like that. And it's because it's Rebecca Sugar's way of putting representation for people like herself in.
Exactly.
And then they're all lesbians, so that's great.
It just goes to show, like, we might not have, I mean, we wouldn't have Steven Universe if we didn't give a platform or a voice to people who are, non-conformative or non-heteronormative or whatever you want to say or to label the other as, right? And how important it is, like you said, for us to have a wide array of creators, because we get different types of messages, we get different types of representation that you just would not see.
Yeah, I mean, it's also great just because I'm sure that Rebecca Sugar has fought tooth and nail for all this. Like, I doubt any of this was even remotely easy.
Right.
It's like, I want to make a soft show about a boy learning to grapple with his feelings, and all his role models are lesbians.
Yeah, and then the
Lesbian
investors
aliens.
be like, please.
Yeah, it's like, excuse me. And then, like, in related sort of news, like, Rebecca Sugar is responsible for, a lot of Adventure Time.
Oh.
Which is another show that's actually structurally quite similar in that it's like, it's in the form of a cartoon, but it actually has like a forward moving narrative. Mind you, I haven't watched all of it, but all I know is that the two lesbians in that show get actually married too.
Oh.
And that couldn't have happened unless Rebecca Sugar fought for that tooth and nail and also made Steven Universe to make it okay. So thank you. Thank you for lesbians everywhere. And non-binary people everywhere. And children who are inevitably going to watch this and be like, whoa, I feel those feelings.
Oh, babies.
Yeah, I mean, this is the value of representation, especially in children's shows, because it, like, children more so than anyone else can be very impressionable, right?
Yeah.
And so if they don't see people on screens that look like them, right, it can be very damaging to their sense of identity, to their sense of self,
right,
to their mental health.
Right.
So it's important that we validate this.
Absolutely. And support it. It's like, parents will, when they're raising their children, will say things like, oh, you can be whatever you want to be, or you could like whatever it is that you want to like. But then all of the media that they're surrounded by isn't them, right?
Right. Like, if your parents tell you something's okay, but the world tells you it's not, then, you're going to think one way and not the other. Exactly.
Like, I can't imagine how many disillusioned children there are, as they're growing up, they realize, oh, all these happy childhood memories that I had about, how endless the world can be in terms of possibilities is actually extremely narrow because the world says that I can't do this or be that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like media like this, which, it's slowly shifting our society into a more open mindset, will make, our future generations feel more like they belong, and they don't have to be a certain way just to feel like they can live in, like, among other people.
Yeah. I mean, learning starts early, and you will carry that bias through the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Unless it is sufficiently challenged. So,
yeah.
Shows like this do the work of laying the groundwork for acceptance of people that aren't like them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it is important, especially for a children's show, to have representation of marginalized groups and people that aren't necessarily, just straight people, like straight white people.
Yeah.
All right, kids. Be gay. Throw off the shackles of your authoritarian government.
If you want to be gay, you can be gay. You can be whatever you want to be. And Rebecca Sugar gives you the thumbs up.
Be gay and resist authority.
Oh my god.
Throw off the shackles of your oppressive government. Be your true self.
It'll be okay, Soup.
It'll be okay. I think, well, okay, I can't say that yet, but I hope it will be okay. All right. Well, I think that's it. I think we've talked all about the show.
Yay.
Where can we find you on the internet?
I'm on the internet at SwanDrawn on Twitter and Tumblr and Facebook and Twitch, and on Instagram at swan.drawn. I will be working on commission work this weekend, and I have been playing butt tons of Yakuza Kiwami 2. So
Nice.
if you want to see any of that, just come on over to Twitch or Twitter and say hi.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you, Soup?
You can find me on all the places at Literal Soup. If I'm on a place, it's there.
Yay!
This week, or this next coming 2 weeks, whatever amount of time it will have been, I will be, chugging along doing school. I will be probably editing podcasts until my ears bleed.
Oh.
And I will at some point be driving back down to the Uniqlo to pick up my tailored pants because it just takes forever, I guess.
Whoa.
I drove down today to get some pants, but they only have one size in terms of length. Right? So they only stock 34 length, and so you have to get them tailored, but they tailor it for you for either for free or for $5, depending on whether the hem is invisible or not, I guess.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, it means that I have to go pick it up later, which means I will probably go on the weekend. But by the time that this episode comes out, I will probably have already had those pants. So
you'll be wearing them.
I will be wearing them, and it will be great and comfortable and great. And I can't think of anything else. So I think that does it. Akechi Goro, eat your fucking heart out.
Oh, but we gotta accept it. Rebecca Sugar would want it.
No, nobody likes Akechi.
No,
Nobody.
Representation. Akechi representation.
Nobody. He's unredeemable. He's unredeemable.
Represent the unredeemable.
No, he's just the worst.
If I could begin to be half of what you think of me, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love. When I see the way you act, wondering when I'm coming back, I could do about anything. I could even learn